Tarquin called the other day, placed a shoebox of objects down and said,
"You think you're so clever? Make a video from these, idiot."
In a break from his usual routine of flouncing off instantly, he took a seat and we talked through some ideas. But he soon became bored, liberated a bottle of vodka and took his leave. Tarquin and his friend Robert travelled to New York on Saturday, February the 13th, 1993 to see two other friends. Kate, who was working nearby in Greenwich, and Victoria, who had flown in from Detroit where she was gainfully employed. Tarquin has the greatest respect for Robert and won't hear a word against him. Many are the times he's said,
"When I grow up, I'm going to be half the man Robert is."
There's little chance of that. Robert is a hard-working gentleman, and Tarquin avoids work like Rod Shoelace avoids being first at the bar. The trip began with a fog-bound Gatwick airport and a 4-hour delay, so Tarquin and Robert followed the path of any right-thinking young men in their situation and visited the bar. Once aboard the plane, they continued drinking across the Atlantic. Landing in Newark, somewhat confused, there was no River Trent in sight. Victoria met them at Newark Airport from her Detroit flight, and they made their way to Greenwich for 2 nights, via bus to New York's Grand Central Station, where a train was taken to complete the journey to Greenwich.
It was the first time I'd met Tarquin, although I had heard lots about him. He was reading the Sun newspaper. I wasn't very impressed and wondered what kind of guy he was who would purchase such a publication, but I was desperate to read an English newspaper, so asked to borrow it.
After checking into the Greenwich Howard Johnson, the obvious thing was to head to the pub with the girls to continue drinking, and confound the locals with one-legged dancing. The pub Kate took them to was Carlyn's Cove in Larchmont, and from this photo we can see shepherd's pie with salad was on offer for $5.95, but Tarquin and Robert obtained their sustenance from Heineken Export, the drink of champions. After 2 nights in Greenwich, Kate booked the boys into a Manhattan hotel, boasting, each room uniquely decorated by an artist. She and Victoria planned to meet Tarquin and Robert the following day. On entering the room, the boys uttered the only response possible. Fucking hell. Settled in, it was decided a drink would help them decipher the meaning of the artwork in their hotel room. A short walk from their hotel, they found the Abbey Tavern on 354 3rd Avenue, where they drank through the shift change of 2 bartenders, and that was the end of their first day in New York. Next morning, after breakfasting in the Sunflower Cafe on 335 3rd Avenue, they ascended the Empire State Building. Not far from the Empire State Building, Tarquin purchased The Jam Snap on cassette from a record shop they came across. Tarquin was most perturbed there was a sales tax on top of the sticker price. I don't think he's ever got over it. They met Kate and Victoria in the afternoon and took them to the Abbey Tavern, where the barman greeted the boys by name and poured their drinks without asking. Guinness for Robert and lager for Tarquin. Kate was not impressed.
You've been in New York for 24 hours and you've already got a local. You are pathetic.
The girls came to town with more plans than you could shake a stick at, probably to make sure no more time was spent in the Abbey Tavern. Over the next few days they visited the Metropolitan, where Tarquin argued he and Robert were students to gain concessionary entrance. Mama, where he took this awful photo of Monet's water lilies, but water lilies, like all chocolate box impressionism, is awful anyway. Central Park, where the 4 of them appeared to be auditioning for Mama's and Papa's album cover. And the Statue of Liberty, where Tarquin rediscovered his fear of heights while climbing the 377 steps to Liberty's crown. Tarquin and Robert enjoyed these activities and, lulled by their cultural nature, must have taken temporary leave of their senses when they agreed to the girls' next 2 outings. First, Kate made them attend the recording of some chat show called Geraldo at the CBS Media Centre on 524 West 57th Street.
Before the filming started, Geraldo came out into the audience. We were sat at the side. He asked where people came from. He asked if anyone came from England. I shouted out and put my hand up. He asked if we had watched him on Sky. I said no. Her and me live over here and these two have no idea who you are. He was offended and moved on quickly.
The warm-up guy threatened to turf the four of us out because I refused to clap or show enthusiasm for this nonsense. Kate and Victoria got on to me because I just sat there, arms folded, sulking. The show was about the Hollywood casting couch, with actress Shelley Winters filling one of the guest spots.
For the second outing, Victoria coerced them to see Miss Saigon at the Broadway Theatre, situated at 1681 Broadway.
I persuaded you all to see Miss Saigon as I had seen it in the West End and wanted to compare productions. I was disappointed that it was the same production, as although I loved the music, I disliked the staging, which was over the top. I have seen much better versions since. Tarquin, Robert and Kate hated it.
Tarquin indeed hated it.
The songs, if you can call them that, finished only to restart and finish about 3 more times. These dirges lasted a lifetime, with only the interval offering respite and extortionately priced alcohol. I imagine it's the same sort of torture anyone who's been forced to attend an Ed Sheeran or Mumford and No Talent gig endures.
Despite Kate and Victoria's best attempts, the Abbey Tavern still featured at some point each day, and they even came to enjoy the visits, or so Tarquin claims.